Is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to keep it simple and we're going to have it fun. We're going to ask 20 questions, all things photography, going from history, gear, technique, even famous people, and it's all here, and the difficulty is going to climb as we go through it. It's going to start easy and progressively get harder and harder. Here's how it works. I'm going to ask a question and I want you to pause the video or just think fast, and then I will give you the answer. Keep score on a piece of paper because at the end I will tell you your score and what it means. So stay until the last question. Trust me, the last few are going to be separate. It's going to separate the real ones from the rest, right? So let's dive into it. Let's have a good time with this. So, question number one, starting easy, we're going to progress up. What are the three elements of the exposure triangle? This one's super easy. Super easy. This is common knowledge. The exposure triangle consists of your aperture, your shutter speed, and your ISO. Each one correlates, they work together. You can't adjust one without having to adjust another. Moving along, question number two. What does the term golden hour refer to within photography? Now, come on. This is a landscape. Of course, it's going to be into. But if you said the short window of time just after sunrise and just before sunset, when the light is low, warm, and soft and directional, widely considered the most flattering natural light available to any photographer, then you are correct. Question number three. What is bokeh? What is bokeh? Now we're talking about portrait. Well, if you said the aesthetic quality of the out of focus area within a photograph, then you're correct. The word comes from Japanese, and the quality of bokeh is a largely determined in your aperture and how sharp and the lens is. So pretty much everything blended, fuzzy, soft, separating your subject and your background. A good way to think of it, think of how you have the subject and you have the big round circles that are blurred. That is bokeh, right? The blurred background. Moving along, question number four. What does shooting in RAW give you over shooting in JPEG? Love this. Always shoot RAW. Why do you want to shoot in RAW? Well, RAW captures all of the data your sensor records. Nothing is processed or compressed within your camera, and that gives you farther more control over your exposure, your white balance, and detail when editing. A JPEG throws all the data to a reduced file size, and you can never get that data back. So that is the biggest difference. Going on, question number five. What is the rule of thirds? This one's fun. Well, if you said a compositional guide where you divide your frame into three grids and you place the subject along one of the lines or in the intersections versus dead center, that is rule of thirds. It's going to create more dynamic and visually interesting images. Moving along, question number six. What year was photograph officially introduced to the public? So when did we first get introduced to this? Now we're talking about history. So back in 1839, when Louis Daguerre announced the daguerreotype process in Paris, it was the first commercially available photograph process, and it changed everything. He changed history. But let's keep going. Question number seven. This is going to be our last easy question, and things are going to get a little bit harder. What does neutral density filters do? So what is a neutral density or ND filter? Well, if you said it reduces the amount of light entering your lens without affecting the color, then you are correct. It's like putting sunglasses on in front of your camera. allowing you to slow your shutter speed while increasing your aperture to have a lot of fun stuff, especially in bright conditions. It's very essential for landscape photography and waterfall photography. I use them all the time. Now let's step it up a little bit. Question number 8. Who is widely considered the father of the modern photojournalism, and what concept is he famous for? Now, I don't think a lot of you are going to get this right. This is a tough question. You really got to know your history. But if you said Henry Carter Burnson, then you would be correct. He coined the concept of the density moment, and the idea that there is one perfect fleeting instant in any scene where light, composition, and emotion align simultaneously, and if you miss it, it's gone forever. So, Henry Carter Burnson. Question number 9. Let's get into it. What photographer took the iconic image Migrant Mother during the Great Depression? And if you're thinking Dorothea Lange, who took the photo back in 1963, you would be correct. She took the photo of a pea picker named Florence Owen Thompson and with her child, and it became the defining photo of an entire era. But let's keep moving along. Number 10. What is hyperfocal distance? What is the hyperfocal distance? This is very important. A lot of people don't understand this. You'd be surprised. Well, a hyperfocal distance is the closest focusing distance at which an object stretching all the way to infinite, right? They are still they're still acceptably sharp, but when you focus at the hyperfocal distance, everything from half that distance to infinite falls within your depth of field. It is a circular concept for landscape photographers who want to maximize sharpness throughout the entire frame, right? So you're making sure your foreground, your midground, and background, everything is tack sharp and in focus. Moving along, question number 11. What is the difference between luminance noise and chromatic noise? Now this one's going to be hard. This is a really tough one. So luminance noise shows up against as grain, random vibrations, and brightness, as is generically considered more acceptable because it resembles film grain, right? Now, chromance noise shows up as random colored pixels scattered across an image, right? So you're going to have red, green, blues. If you zoom into one of your photos, right, think of a pixel, one of those squares. And this is generally considered more distracting and harder to fix because it's dealing with more of your sensor. So one deals with film, one deals with digital. Moving along, question number 12. What is the Magnum Photo Agency? This is very big. What is the Magnum Photo Agency? Well, it is a photo corporative founded back in 1947 by Henry Carter Burnson, Robert Capa, David Seymour, and George Roger, and it is considered one of the most prestigious photography agencies out there in the world. It's uniquely owned and it's operated all by its their photo team and their members themselves. So, which I think is really awesome and really cool. Question number 13. What is panning in action photography? I love panning. I was doing a documentary class and we got to go out and we were panning cars. Well, I kind of just gave it away, but it's a technique where you're moving your camera horizontally in sync with a moving subject. So you're going to take your camera and you're going to lower your shutter speed pretty low to like 1/3 or 1/4 or one whatever. You're going to go as low as you can where you can pan, right? You're going to follow a car, you're going to take a picture as you're following a car. And as you're following the car is going to be in focus, but everything else, because it's moving, is going to blur, and that is panning. Um, it's a lot of fun to do, and if you haven't tried it, go do it. But let's keep moving along. Question number 14. What is the sound system, and who was it developed by? And I love this. I love the zone system, and this is probably one of my favorite landscape photographers out there. But if you didn't know, it's a semantic approach to exposure and processing that divides a total range of an image into 11 zones, from zone 0, which is pure black, all the way up to zone 10, 10 which is pure white. It allows photographers to previously see the final image before they even press the shutter and expose precisely for the tonal outcome that they want, so they can adjust that. And all of that is thanks to by Ansel Adams. So the sound system was developed by Ansel Adams, and that is how it works. Now, things are going to get harder. Hard, hard, hard. Who was Vivian Maier, and why is her story so significant? Who is she? And why is she so important? Well, Vivian was an American nanny who secretly made over 150,000 photographs, mostly of street photography across Chicago and New York. Over several decades, never showing them to the public, her work was discovered after her death when a historian bought her storage locker at auction. She is now considered one of the greatest street photographers of the 20th century, and a remarkable story by any measure, I would say. But let's keep moving along. Question number 16. What is the Breyer filter mosaic, and why does it matter in digital photography? So, what is a Bayer-Filter filter mosaic? Well, a color filter array. So what this does is it's going to be placed over your digital sensor, where each picture is covered by either a green, red, or blue filter, with twice as many green filters as red or blue monitoring, right? The human eye is sensitive to green light. The camera then uses a process called demosaicing to calculate full color information for every pixel. This is the fundamental technology behind it, how every digital camera captures color. Question number 17. What photographer created the photo section movement, and what was he fighting for? Who was that? Well, if you said Alfred Stieglitz, in the early 20th century, he co-founded the photo section movement and ran the legendary 291 Gallery in New York, champion photography as a lifetime. His fine art format at the time, when most of the art would refuse to take him seriously, they did, and he blew up and became phenomenal. Love his work. Highly recommend going to check it out. Moving along, we got a few more questions, and we're coming down to the last few. So let's get into it. Question number 18. What is reciprocal failure in film photography? What is that? What could that be referring to? Well, in film photography, what that means is under very long exposures, film does not respond to light in a predictable linear way. The exposure increase needed to compensate is greater than the math would suggest, meaning you need to add even more time than your meter tells you. In color film, it can also cause unwanted color shifts. And one of those things that separates photographers who truly understand film from, you know, who truly understand film from those who are just guessing. And this was hard. Like I this is something that I had to learn in film photography, specifically my introduction to black and white film photography. Right, this was the first thing we talked about. And moving along to our last two questions. Number 19: what is John Berger central argument in ways of seeing, and why does it matter to photographers? So I don't know if you've seen this. I talked about ways of seeing in his book that he wrote, which was very important. What was John Berger's central argument? Well, John Berger argues that we never see images neutrally. Every image is interpreted through the viewer's history, culture, and context in which it is presented. For photographers, this matters because it means your image is never received the way you made it. And understanding this focus you to think critically, not just about your photograph, but how you do it and how you present it. And by, when you read it, by the word once he leaves it, once it leaves your hand. It's all about how it will affect that person. And now, moving along, our last question. And the final question: what is the Family of Man exhibition, and why was it a landmark movement in photography history? This is a tough one. Curated by uh, Edward Sturanken and exhibited at the Museum of Modern Art back in New York in 1955, it has featured 503 photographers from 68 countries, exploring universals, human themes like love, birth, work, and even death. It's traveled to the world's first 8 years and was seen by an estimated 9 million people. It remains one of the most viewed and influential photography exhibits in history and in today's time. So, with that said, let's break down your score. So, take your pencil, there was 20. And here's what your score means. So, from 0 to 5, right, if you got 0 to 5, you're brand new to this world. That's not a bad thing. Everyone starts somewhere. I start somewhere. And now you have a list of things that you got to learn and how to use it. Now, if you got 6 to 10 correct, good job. You're a solid beginner to enthusiast. You've got the fundamentals down, and you've clearly spent some real time with your camera in your hand, and you're starting to really get to know it. Now, if you're 11 to 15, you're serious about photography, you're doing phenomenal, you're going beyond the settings, you're going into the history, you're going into the theory, the concepts, the ideas, and that puts you ahead of most people picking up their camera in today's time. Now, if you're one of the lucky few who got 16 to 19, you are deeply knowledgeable and genuinely passionate about this craft, and respect, man, respect. Now, if you got 20 out of 20, I am impressed. Please drop it in the comments. Let's connect. Either way, you've put in some serious time studying photograph at every level, or we need to have a conversation about rather your Googled, number 18, right? But if you got 20 out of 20, you probably got your master's or your bachelor's. You've gone to school. You know what you're doing, and you're in a good spot. But Drop your score in the comments below. If you like it, hit that like button. Please subscribe. I want to see how everyone did. And if one of these stumped you, tell me which one did. I might build a whole video around it and talk more in depth about it. Thanks for watching, and keep learning and keep shooting. I'll see you in my next one.